Wonderful. So welcome everybody to Flowing with the Spiritual Cafe. So excited to have Daniel Holeman, who is a visionary artist. He's a Gene Keys ambassador, and he has an amazing story to share. We'll talk more about him in a moment. I just want to welcome my co-host Phoebe Salter, who is also a Gene Keys human design Gene Keys traveler, let's say, as well as myself, Akushi Angel. So before we introduce Daniel Holeman more, I just want us to take a moment to settle and maybe close your eyes and just be present here. So take 3 deep breaths in. Just slowly and gently and relaxed. Relax your shoulders and your head, your torso and your legs and your feet. And as you breathe gently and let go and relax even more, feel or imagine your feet on Mother Earth. And notice Mother Earth's warm, golden, nourishing energy. Feel that energy holding us, nurturing us. Feel the warm glow rising up into our root chakra and through all the chakras into our heart and out through our crown chakra, meeting with Father Sun. And as they melt and merge together, just let go some more, knowing we are held in cosmic order. We bring in the angels of harmony and equilibrium and ask them to hold us today and in the cafe and in this moment. And just feel this loving energy holding us, bringing us into ourselves, into our sovereign self, where all the answers lie. And as we breathe into this inner sovereignty, to say a prayer out into the world, a prayer for peace, prayer for harmony, prayer for a new way of being, where all beings on the planet and the seas and the skies are working together in harmony, so that everyone and every being is equal and caring and sharing. Just thank the angels of harmony as we drop deeper into ourselves. Take 3 slow, deep breaths. Just take your time. And when you're ready, slowly and gently come back to the room, come back to the cafe. Open your eyes and be present with the presence. So thank you, Phoebe, for co-hosting and Daniel for being with us today. And Phoebe, would you like to introduce our wonderful guest, Daniel?
I'd be delighted. Thanks, Akushi. That was a wonderful intro to bring us into the present. So yeah, without more ado, I'd like to introduce Daniel Holeman. Artistic talent combined with lifelong exploration of consciousness and devotion to self-realization has given Daniel Holeman an ability to depict uplifting and profound sacred imagery. His inspirational paintings often have a strong impact on people, Daniel feels it is not so much the beauty, but the place it stirs within that people are responding to. He invites the viewer to dive into a deeper dimension of consciousness whilst viewing his paintings, allowing the high frequency imagery to activate their own higher frequencies within. The imagery activates forgotten awareness of a felt sense of home, a warm, familiar, and heartfelt state of mind. And his videos are a deeply moving experience to behold. Daniel's primary role in life is that of a messenger and a guide for all who are ready to realize our unity. He offers insight, clarity, and counsel on living in this world with that awareness. And the art that comes through him is the creative expression of that role. He is a way shower, helping others to realize and live their unique higher purpose, their fullest potential, based on a foundation of unity consciousness and the clarity of being who we are designed to be and the role we are here to fill in life.
Love that.
That's absolutely fantastic. I love the way it does a full circle because, you know, I kind of feel like it's kind of wounded healer stuff, isn't it? Once you've sorted out your own wound map, now I'm going to show you how to do it.
That's kind of how it works. Well, thanks for having me. It's nice to be here, talking to you all the way across the globe. I'm in California. I guess you're in England. Yeah. Well, what would you like to talk about?
Well, I'd like to, first of all, I'd like to say it, how I ordered in fact, the Flowing with the Spiritual Cafe's banner is designed by you, David. And
Daniel.
yeah, and it's the banner, and I'd like to just say how that came to be, and because there's a few connections here, but I just want to talk about this one at the beginning because I have been looking forever for the banner that's right for me, and I really wanted to. I'm a 29, so devotional is my life's work, and so is Phoebe actually. I can run ahead, and in the past I've been too impatient and too quick, and I've got things on my website or designed in my banners, and they just haven't been right because I've been so this time in my life after studying the gene keys and becoming more anchored in my body, embodying my life's purpose more. I started to get to take the time to be present in the moment and not rush and take the time. And I was still looking for the right design. I was going cross-eyed. I was looking here. I was looking there. I was looking in Pinterest. Is it Pinterest? All sorts of places, social media. And then I saw this beautiful design and I thought, wow, that's fantastic. I wish I could have a design like that. That's perfect. It was just not quite me, but just had the things in it. And I thought, and I had no idea that it was connected to the Gene Keys and Richard Rudd. That's the interesting thing. So I got
Uh,
into so what I did then is I Googled it and realized that you were a Gene Keys ambassador. And I thought, well, there we go. And then I asked you to do it. So I didn't get it because you were a Gene Keys ambassador. It just came to me, and then I said, "This is what I want. I'm an angel minister, and I want the chakras, and I want the kundalini, and you just perfect." So that's how, for me, my life is working now. More so that I've come on this Gene Keys journey. So what I want to say is, so the question I have for you is, I noticed that you were brought up Catholic. I was brought up a Catholic, and you saw that it wasn't true. And then you started to investigate other spiritual ways. And one of the other connections for me is the prophet Kahil Gibran. That was one of my first awakenings, let's say. I read that at the age of 31 when I was having a meltdown, when I was having a bit of a breakdown, when I was coming out of, I was brought up Catholic. What I want to know is, how did your journey unfold from the moment that you suddenly thought this doesn't seem to be right to the journey then from starting to have these visitations, and have this unfolding and just seeing the art. I mean, I want to show this up to the listeners and the viewers because that's incredible, and that's just one of many bits of art that you do. How does it come through you?
Well, that's it just evolved, based on um, what, the spiritual kind of state or inquiry or level or whatever that I was in at a given time. Like when I first started out doing art, I was doing like old school psychedelic stuff from the 60s because I was a teenager in the 60s, graduated high school in 1970. So when all that stuff was going on with the Beatles and all these groups, and they were all talking about psychedelics and this and that, and I started out kind of imitating the album covers and the posters and different things that were going on then. And that's how I started off, was just imitating. And then of course, my own little taste and my own flavor would come through a little bit. And then it evolved over time. And then I went for a long period of time where I didn't do any artwork and I was more on spiritual questing, which I also got involved in quite early. Because at the time there were books by Alan Watts, he was one of my main authors that I was reading and so forth, and that really inspired me to get in touch with this oneness awareness, you know. And I had some glimpses at that time of altered states that kind of gave me that taste of the unity of all things. Not that I was enlightened or anything like that, really, but I had like kind of lifted the veil and took a peek, and had some times where I would see those things and see the nature of reality um, more really. And so then over the years, I got back into artwork and decided to do it back in 1989, actually, when I didn't even read the book, but there was a book going around called Do What You Love and the Money Will Follow. I was actually training people on computers at the time, but I was always interested in spirituality because of my early tastes. And it's in my design. I think in my little bio there, I should probably revise it because that's a little more accurate to say it's in my design to be spiritually oriented and sharing that with other people.
So
You
which
know, I was, pardon?
so what is your design? What would you say are the key gene keys that
Well, it really is a hybrid of a lot of them, but like I have the 54.4 as my higher purpose, which is all about aspiring to the highest possible state, whether it's materially or spiritually. Anyway, that and a lot of other things, things that have to do with attention to detail and making form just perfect, my 1057 channel and different things like that.
uh,
Which people that are not familiar with human design and the gene keys are not going to be that familiar with that stuff. But these are just characteristics and qualities that are in my DNA. And that's really what should be said in my bio, is that it's in my makeup, in my DNA, to express um, the visions and the things that are inspiring to me. And so anyway, that's kind of how I evolved that more.
That's
And
fabulous.
I always had it in me to share what I was learning. I used to go around telling people after reading Alan Watson, I would share with people, you know, we're really all one, in this idea that we're separate in our bodies is just an illusion. Yeah, our bodies are separate, but we're all, it's like different fingers on the hand. We're all part of the same one hand, just different expressions of it. And some people would kind of go, oh, that's cool. And others would kind of go over their head and they would just kind of, but anyway, I was very enthusiastic all along from the very start about the insights that I found for myself, or just that whatever I discovered and saw to be what seemed to be so, I would share that with people. And I still do that. Now I have two kind of branches to my life. One is I share and I guide people if they need some spiritual assistance, just some clarity, because I have as my life's work the 57.2 is clarity is the city.
Well,
And
that's perfect, isn't it? Because intuition is the gift, and I have the 51. I think is the programming partner,
yeah,
and interestingly, I communicate with the angels, and that's where I started to. In fact, the angels guided me to the gene keys. It was like, okay, you've got this far, but you need to expand now. Expansion is also one of my gene keys, and I can get stuck through intellect on one groove, and it was time to expand. And for me, quite often, 51's in my spiritual quotient. For people who aren't gene keys, but most of our listeners are now. This is agitation through to awakening, and the gift being, what is the gift? What's the gift?
and initiation.
Initiation, yes, initiation is the gift. And I really wanted the 57. This was in the early days where I couldn't get my head around the programming partners. I was just getting my head around my gene keys, And I thought, I really want the 57. I really feel that I should have the 57 because, I'm intuitive and I do this work, and and then I saw it was my programming partner. And so that was a great revelation, uneasiness and agitation, and yeah. And the next thing I was going to say, you talk about the shadow being the gene keys. When you came across the gene keys, it was the gene keys that helped you to see the shadows, as I can't remember the exact words, but the shadow being something that you can embrace rather than something you have to try and get rid of. And could you share more about that and how you work with
Well,
that?
that was a major thing because, like I said, I've always explored and different spiritual insights, from other people and so forth. But it was Richard Rudd, and the gene keys and human design actually was introduced to first by David Kitts, who lives in Hawaii now. He's a friend of mine. I was over at his house with my wife at the time for dinner, and after dinner we were sitting around talking. He started to print out our charts and started talking about it. And I got a little bit curious. Wasn't fanatic about it, but I was a little curious. It was kind of interesting. And then I kept hearing about this book, The Gene Keys. People were saying, oh, on Facebook groups and stuff, they would say, oh, this book is really cool. So I finally got the book, and then that just spoke to me so much more. The languaging and the clarity and the perspective. I kind of looked at the time that Human Design by Ra was written from the perspective of the ego, and Richard's book was written from the perspective of the higher self. I don't use those terms as much now, but that's what I thought it when I first came across it. I thought one is written from one perspective, and then it turns out to be that I've gotten clear because I did a lot of study in human design over the years as well. Because this is back in 2010 that I first came across human design, and then 2011 I think I got the book, the Gene Keys book. But I think that it was clarified that Roz even said that a lot of what he spoke about in his writings, but it's all, you know, verbal that they transcribe, was written from the perspective of what he called the not self, because he said that's what most people are at. And he didn't incorporate this whole spectrum of consciousness of the shadow key, which is a gene in our DNA, is the same key at different frequencies. One is a shadow, at a higher frequency, it's a gift. And so here we are trying to get rid of problems and overcome these things, where the embracing of them and the seeing them from a higher perspective, a clearer perspective, is exactly what we're here to be sharing with the world and to be expressing in the various ways in our uniqueness, the hybrid of all those different gifts. So after doing all these different studies for decades, that was a major clarification and a course adjustment to get that element in there of the exact nature of how the shadow gift and city, or the highest enlightened expression of that gift is.
Yeah.
Can I?
I was just wondering though, I'm just wondering if we, and either now or at some point, I just realized that I could share one of my little videos on the screen share. And I hope that'll work on the live stream. Do you think the sound would come through?
We could try it.
We tried. If it's not, you can pipe in or well, maybe watch them. It's about 5 minutes long. Is that okay? Or I have a preview version if you prefer a shorter one.
Either or, you know, it's absolutely fine. Do you need
Why
me
don't we try
to?
and see if it works, and then we can continue the conversation. People will have an idea of what we're talking about as far as where I've come, where I've gone with the artwork, as far as it being I don't know, having a kind of a transmission of spiritual inspiration qualities and feelings,
Yeah,
you know, with the art.
yeah. So do you need me to do anything here? Do I need to share this? Oh
I
no, it's
think
you that needs to. Just
I have a screen share, unless there's a setting you have to do that. I don't know. Let me just give it a trip, try here. Let's see.
I'm just going to check the. Oh, sounds nice.
Showing up. Host disabled screen sharing, it says. Can you enable screen sharing?
Yeah, I think you have to ask my permission, and let's have a look. Share screen.
Participants more.
Oh, thank you, Phoebe. Love her.
Is that
More and
And there's a little drop down and choose what you need.
so allow.
allow participant screen sharing?
It doesn't give me that option. Oh, let me just click on your name. Maybe more from there. No, more. Enable waiting room. Do I need to do something in share screen?
Do you want to look at that? And Phoebe, do you have any question? We could just continue a little conversation.
Yeah, sure. I'm really intrigued about your line 2 there in your 51, and your kind of challenge into how you approached contemplation. And you know, did you kind of have any questions that you would ask yourself to kind of help you meet those challenges of initiating, or through the contemplation, or how that happened with another, because you're a 2?
Well, it was a gradual refinement and clarification of myself more and more. I had done a lot of self-inquiry prior to that, and meditation, various things. But even within the scope of the doing the golden path and the gene keys and so forth, which I've done twice back then when it first came out, and then I did a year later or so. And I'm looking forward to doing the deep dive of into the Venus that's coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, it's because also I'm a projector, and a projector living as incorrectly as a projector can be difficult. It can be challenging. That's not going to mean much to people that aren't familiar with that either, but it's living not who I am, and getting clear on that helped me gradually kind of settle into who I am more and more and become comfortable. And so learning that, see, what would happen is I would initiate things in life like men are supposed to do, and get failure, not all the time, but a lot. And so it got me into kind of a period, a state of not despair, but like kind of futile. It's like, what's the point? What's the use of trying? Kind of giving up a little bit, just in general, just a tone. And getting the clarity allowed me to see that, well, at the programming partner, that there's a theme there with the 57 and the 51. They go together, and the intuition. So in order to initiate, I have to initiate from my intuition, not from my mind, not from my thoughts. And that has been tremendous. I just sort of backed off and then wait until it just, I don't know, so intuition is a little bit hard to describe to people because it's a very specific thing. A lot of people think a mixed intuition up with just their thoughts. So I had this thought about something is to do, and that's my intuition or something.
Mm-hmm.
Instantaneous knowing. It's kind of an inner knowing. I just know that, And if I get into too much thinking about stuff, then I run into trouble, and I get into doubts and confusions, and it gets complicated and all this complexity and everything else. So in order for me to initiate, it has to be conditional, meaning the circumstances have to be right, which means I have to be in the flow, in tune with my intuition for my whatever I initiate into life to be successful, to work out.
I'm sure you've helped a lot of projectors out there, and it sounds as though, what you went through, wasn't futile at all, of course, but maybe this incubation or like kind of disintegration process, was lasting a lot longer than you hoped for. And the idea of not quitting and sticking with stuff, to go for breakthrough, to go for the light bulb moments. I mean, for me, intuition, until I get to inner knowing, because I am thinking so much in the left brain, has to come through confirmation outside of me. Now I'm coming from a manifesting generator point of view. So of course I can initiate stuff to see if it's confirmed or not. So perhaps that's the difference between you and I, and maybe it was a bit quicker for me. I mean, can you just explain, or maybe not? I mean, maybe, I'm really interested in this projector because I've read somewhere that it is like part of the future human being, and perhaps the manifesting generator doesn't have the function that a projector has. And is there an advantage to being a projector? Is it part of the future for humanity, or we all have a part to play?
Well, the thing about projectors is they're more yin, really. I mean, that's one way of saying it. They're more yin in their makeup, and that's where the world is heading right now, is getting the feminine principle, the feminine qualities integrated and in balance and in harmony and working together with the masculine, the yin and the yang. And then the yang has its role in that sense of serving the guidance of the yin, of the masculine serving the vision of the feminine,
Yeah.
or whatever, you know. And it's a dynamic that can be in the macro, in the world, and also in an individual. So that's something that I'm continuing. It's not like a done deal. It's not like I'm this, oh, I got it all straightened out now. It's more like I'm getting it straight, and it's feeling right, and it's feeling good. And my inner knowing is saying yes a lot to my process and going in the right direction. And interestingly, when I when I fall down, or if I make an error, or I am lax in some way in being who I am, or operating, you know, in accordance with that, then I get a very obvious, you know, symptom or kickback from life that kind of like, oh yeah, you know, I don't need to. It's like very easy to hear and listen to, because I have these the clarity around it, you know.
Yeah. Mm.
That's a wonderful process, isn't it, Akushi? Because I mean,
Okay.
I've never heard it explained like that, the projector as yin, and you've really like kind of simplified everything for me. And I can see through your bio as well, you know, how you've perhaps simplified the way that you're working, because you use the word unity, which is the second gene key. And you've got, I mean, you've got beauty in there as well, which is the first gene key. And you just exquisitely shared how those two things work, and that they're kind of like the first rungs on the ladder, aren't they? They make up the eye of the fire and the eye of the water, the ring of the water and the ring of the fire, right there. So yeah, that was brilliant. I love that. You've really given me something there, a great takeaway, and I'm sure for the viewers too. Thanks, Daniel.
Yeah.
Sure.
Daniel, what I've done is I've gone into screen share, and I've allowed participants to share their screen. So shall we see if it works?
Let's see. Do you see
Yeah.
it?
Here we go. Wonderful.
Is the sound there?
Yeah, the sound's here.
Yeah, I
It's
can
not.
hear.
It's not. It's not great, but it's just we can hardly hear it. If you could turn it up a bit. Beautiful. Look at that.
I think the sound doesn't go through. You're just hearing it through my little microphone rather than through the computer.
That's good.
Good enough.
Okay, so I'm not sure how that worked so
You know,
much because it really does justice when it's on a big screen with a big sound system. You know, it's high fidelity and all that stuff. But maybe that gave people at least a little taste of some of the stuff that I do. And you can see in there, there's a kind of an element of kind of a tenderness, you know, with both the music and just the softness of it and stuff. That comes through a lot in a lot of stuff I do. And that's my 37. I have a 37.5, which tenderness is the city of that, and equality is the gift. So there's a lot of, and I have 57 3 times in my chart too. So all these things are qualities which then develop over time into higher and higher expressions, or more refined and sophisticated expressions over the course of a lifetime, for a person to become more masterful and more um, powerful in whatever it is that they're sharing their gifts with life. And so this is just an example. Everyone's got whatever their hybrid combination of gifts and skills and so forth are. And when they get clear on that, everyone is equally magnificent and beautiful in whatever it is they're sharing, whether it's leadership or um, uh, art or music or organization or whatever it may be. You know, their gifts are going to be shared more and more the clearer they are on what's in their DNA, what's in their actual makeup of who they are and what those qualities are.
yeah. I just want to say, firstly, the music wasn't great. It didn't matter. We could get the tenderness. I got the tenderness, and your art makes me want to cry. There's the tenderness, and just how it unfolds is it's just a meditation in itself. Um,
Thank you.
absolutely, and the other thing is so beautiful. You know, that's just it, isn't it? That you know what the Gene Keys has given me is that. Well, first, the other thing I want to say about your art is people, because I've worked with the rainbow vibration, rainbow frequencies, and that's the way I've come into the Gene Keys. And now, and there was a point where I thought, you know, I just need to drop all this. And then I came into the Gene Keys, and now I realize that that is what I'm meant to do, and I'm expanding that within, anchoring in myself, my life's purpose, and opening my heart more, and it's unfolding rather than me pulling and trying to do something. And that brings me to what you said about we're all equal, you know, and the 37, and that when we start to light up from inside out and find out, you know, our life's purpose and how we're going to express it in our own unique way, then there is no competition. There is just all of us lighting up and sharing and lighting up the world, and the inquiry, the traveling, the, you know, there's something else that we can look at, say like corruption is the shadow, and harmony, the world theme at the moment. And you know, the more I look in that and go inside with it rather than projecting out. So the other thing that Gene Keys has helped me to do is really, really investigate and inquire without beating myself up because of where I am, but having a breakthrough and an opening to be able to say, right, I'm ready now to look at this. I'm ready now to stop coffee in my life. I'm ready for that, you know, and see where it takes me without, yeah, I'm ready. That's it. Just I'm ready. And before, when I wasn't, that was okay too.
It's time now. What you mentioned about comparing, that was a big thing that I grew up. And it goes into that theme of being a projector that's not quite seen and understood of myself and by other people, it's the same, really. It's internal, external. As I was always comparing myself to other people when I was young, and it didn't work. And so the gene keys, that was a major, major insight and clarification for me as well. That I just can stop that,
Yeah.
stop comparing myself. Because I remember being young and I'm talking about like, 8 years old, 9 years old, that kind of young age, and hearing the term inferiority complex. And I said, oh yeah, I have that. I heard that term, like, oh yeah, I have that. And I just felt inferior. I know a lot of people do for various reasons, but a lot of it is because of that comparing oneself, one's inner self that one knows, to the outer expression, which a lot of times, people putting their best foot forward. And of course, they're different anyway. And there is no value or merit in comparing oneself with other people. It's a matter of just getting clear on one's own design and then letting that, like you say, in a kind of a organic, natural way, in its own timing, express, better and better, or more and more. And that's it's a great clarification to have about life.
Yeah. I mean, I'll bring Phoebe in if you don't mind, Phoebe, because we Phoebe's really good at remembering. She's got brilliant memory, so she can remember the gene keys and the lines. And I can remember. I'm emotional. I work with emotional authority, and actually I started with the gene keys, and then I looked at the human design, and Phoebe actually helped me to connect the two, and it is helpful to know the human design and how the mechanics of that work too. um and I'm okay about that now. I'm okay about the fact that I'm not somebody that works from here. I work from here, and I'm okay with the fact that if I'm here, there, and everywhere with my emotions, even in a moment, that all I need to do is just wait till I'm centered in that, and then I talk with authority. I don't have to remember all the facts. And Phoebe, because we're in the same tribe, Phoebe can come in with that information. And it's like, oh, yeah, we work together. There's no competition.
Sweet.
Sweet.
Yes.
Took,
It is really
took
sweet.
a while, though, for us to get that sorted out, didn't it, Phoebe? Because,
Yeah.
we're conditioned to feel that if we're not like everybody else, if we don't fit in the way that they work,
Yeah.
then we're inferior.
Well, I mean, look at the education system, how I was conditioned, in school and in church and everything else to, measure up to certain standards that they said this is how you ought to be, and everyone's got to be the same and homogenized and everything else. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was thinking too about what I was saying before about the yin and the yang and that sort of thing, and the times that we're in of having the feminine come forth and exalt more and become more empowered and become in harmony and balance with the masculine, work together, is, that was always there in me because it's in my design. I remember years ago, I'm talking about 20, 30 years ago, I used to be what I called a champion of the feminine. And I used to talk to, men and women about how important feelings are, and to be able to be in touch with the lower chakras and things that are some of the more feminine qualities, in all of our makeup, and how important those qualities are, and how important to have respect for women and the feminine. I used to have my radio show, and that was a common theme that I had, was the championing the feminine. And now it's gotten, Richard is so beautiful. One of the things when I was reading his book, I was going, yes, he's on the same page there, and he's saying it so much more beautifully and eloquently than I can. And I just love his emphasis and his articulation of those things, as well as his um, uh, foundational articulation of the importance of unity consciousness, which isn't so much spoken about. Neither of those are really spoken about as emphasized in human design. Human design is a little bit more mental, a little bit less um, emphasizing the feminine as being an important factor in our times for both healing, empowering, exalting, and bringing into balance into the right roles of working together with the masculine, letting the masculine execute the uh, I don't know the vision
But the vision
provide
has
what
to
it
come
does.
first. But the vision has to come first, doesn't it? And, you know, going back to the yin, we need a new language, don't we? So the art that you're depicting, this unity of consciousness, which Richard Rudd, you know, as a poet, and he's speaking from his four, so it can so eloquently put it. And then there's a few of us, you know, that are just getting into this stuff, and we're helping the left brain serve the right brain. And we know we've got to rewire and come out of the over intellectualization so that we can start kind of coming from the heart and navigating and kind of getting into that alignment. But there's like things that need to drop into place, you know, and we are the trailblazers, you know, we are becoming the future human beings. And even the asteroids, right, you know, so they're all feminine. So right now, you know, since Ra Ahu, he's now we've got all asteroids. So really pretty much we're like lighting up all over the place, because you'll probably find that you've got an asteroid making channels left, right and center. And when you meet somebody else, you've definitely got them all covered. So we're just pinging all over the place. And I'd just like to say, I don't know if you know, because I know you're friends with Amy. Did you know that you're 37 is Magdalene? Because I'm seeing a lot of Christ consciousness in your unity consciousness. And of course, the Magdalene energy is very much bestowed on the planet, you know, probably coming in since the late 70s with Chiron, and probably more so with the harmonic convergence around 87 when you started to pick up your art again. But yeah, you have the 37 there, wherever that is in your chart. I'd be interested to find out. And that's Magdalene's key. So she was discovered in 37, and I just think there's a lovely synchronicity there, Daniel, because yeah.
No, I have a lot of friends, a lot of women friends. In fact, I always had a lot of I related to women more than men my whole life. I grew up with an older sister, kind of took me under her wing, and I was very shy, and she was a manifester, and she was very outgoing, very popular, and she would include me and take me with the girlfriends, and they'd come over and they'd all be talking, the pom pom girls, you know, doing their practice, all these things during high school and grade school and everything, and she would always include me, and so I got comfortable, you know, because it was in me to be comfortable. That was the external expression of it, to be in their conversations, and they would include me in their conversations because they could sense that I was like, you know, interested and caring, and I was not macho at all. I was just the opposite of a macho man. I was kind of a sensitive young boy, you know, young man, and yeah. And then there's in my adult life, even in more recent times, there's a lot of women that are into the Magdalene movement, uh, you know, with various workshops and gatherings and different things like that in Marin, where I used to live. That's in the Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area. And they also saw that in me, and they would kind of almost make me like this kind of honorary member and really include me in that. You know, I've always been included. It's an area of inclusion. I've never done this whole sports competition and football and all these, you know, macho things that a lot of guys do. It seemed kind of crass and distasteful to me the way it would express. Now, it doesn't have to be that way, of course, but a lot of times when it's lacking to any degree the feminine, it does come across as crass and kind of almost rude and distasteful. You know, the macho, I'm talking about the macho expression,
Mhm.
Mm.
you know, where
Beautiful.
they're just plowing ahead with, which is kind of fun in certain contexts, but when it's done as a kind of a compensation or as a behavior conditioned pattern, it can become distasteful, and it often is.
Yeah, I know for me and a lot of women that have spoken to, especially over my journey in the, in this in the spiritual self-development realm that I've been traveling along for the past 30 plus years, there's always been this, where are the men? Where are these tender, soft, spiritual men? And there have been few, and now there are starting to be more and more. And yeah, when I put the event page up for you, I got a lot of women, let's say a lot, a few of my female friends, I'm not going to shout them out, said, "Oh, he's nice." They quite fancied your energy and the way you looked. So, something is working there, Daniel. Just thought to say that.
Well,
Um,
I'm single, and I'm looking forward to doing this a third time through more deeply now that I've had some time, some experience with it. This whole, Gene Keys, doing this Venus sequence that's
so
coming up, starting in a couple of weeks. That's a 6-month program, and I'm trusting that going in deep, diving deep in, and that'll get me in the place um, to attract, because I don't really, it doesn't work for me too well to go after a woman.
Mhm.
It's more that I get myself in a higher frequency and expressing who I am, and then that uh, transmission that's coming out of me attracts what is right for me. And that isn't, especially during this lockdown, I've been kind of isolated. My frequency's been a little bit uh, toned down. Um, it's given me opportunities as well. But I mean, yeah, I'm really excited and looking forward to doing this and getting myself in a little bit more puffed up or,
I like that term,
um,
puffed up. Yeah, well, I will be joining you in that. It'll be my first time doing the Venus sequence with in the retreat. I've done it myself, but I got from doing the activation sequence that to do it the deep dive is a deepening experience than doing it on your own, because I find if I do it on my own, then especially as I've got the intellect, so it can be uh, tunnel visioned in what I'm looking at. To do it and then meet other people. That's where you get where you're at with it. That's where your heart starts to open,
yeah,
and that's where the juice is. But the third time, can you
yeah.
share a bit about that?
Well,
The Venus sequence. Oh.
well, for me, that's it's very personal in the sense of going into the wounds, um, which were pretty significant in my life. I in my most of my life actually, even though I was having all these mental, spiritual insights, going to different teachers, whether it's Eckhart Tolle or Gangaji or, um, the various Ram Dass, there are different teachers that are out there to listen to and satsangs and various things. And I'd have all sorts of clarity because that was part of my thing too, is getting clear on the big picture and how it works and all these things. And I always had since a young age that unity consciousness awareness in the background all the time. It's kind of the part of the foundation, but it's not really in the day-to-day practical world that's there. And the day-to-day practical world, there was a lot of shadow. There was a lot of shadow that activated from my parents and my young years and bringing up Catholic and whatnot in those times. So getting in touch with the different kind of warming up to them, I guess you could say a little bit, and
Mm.
seeing them with a different that embrace, I mean, accept, allow, accept, embrace um, approach.
Mm.
That's been very heart opening and stabilizing. You know, that core stability has gotten fairly good in me. That's kind of what sees me through these times. I have friends that are not having so much core stability, and they're being very, uh, you know, upset and disturbed and thrown off their center by what's going on in the collective right now in humanity with this COVID thing. And it's pretty intense what's going on. I think it's just part of the transformation that we know is imminent and it's actually happening now. I mean, we're in it, but it's a years long process that's going on that's talked about in both Gene Keys and Human Design, and the exact kind of hit, the fulcrum point of it is 2027, when we then enter like this kind of new age, which is going from the 37 period to the 55, which is not really probably meaningful to go into any detail right now what that's all about, other than to say there's a major mutation and transformation that's underway, and this COVID thing is just a part of it. It's just kind of getting us dislodged and disoriented from the trance that we've been in and the unsustainable lifestyle and approach that we've been having. Even the world economists and the International Monetary Fund and these type of law, I've been watching YouTube videos, they're saying we're going to do a planetary reset. They're using that term, we're going to reset the world economy, which is going to take away money, like cash money, and have digital currencies and have it a whole different system. You know, but that's just on a more mundane materialistic level. But on a consciousness level, there's a major transformation that's underway right now. And we need to be, all of us, as much clear in ourselves and doing our part that we have to share with others, to contribute, to give to the whole during that and throughout that, rather than being thrown off by it. Because there's going to be a lot of people, I'm sure, that are thrown off, that are just either going to not survive or going to go into a hard times. The more they resist it, the change in themselves. But yeah, I think doing this Venus sequence is a wonderful thing to do with a group, you know, and to share that with our buddies, brothers and sisters, you know.
Can I just ask you, how long is the 37 period that preludes the 55 for?
Well, you know, these things are part of the precession of the equinox, which is 26,000 years.
Yeah.
And in each age, like the age of Aquarius, the age of Pisces that people are familiar with, those are 2,400 and something years long each. Well, if you overlay the I Ching chart over that, each one of them is about, I don't know whether it's 400 years but it varies. I don't think it's all exactly the same. It varies. Some are longer than others, but it's roughly, I think, maybe
Okay, so we're talking about the incarnational cross going from planning into the sleeping phoenix.
It's the precession of the equinoxes. It's that wheel that's the bigger wheel, not the normal thing that we're looking at on our charts. That's one cycle, the cycles around the earth and the sun and all that stuff. This is the big cycle that's 26,000 years. And we're at the end of that cycle, but we don't go into the age of Aquarius for until the 55 at some point is over, which is about another 200 years or some sort of period. I don't know the exact.
And then it moves into the 29, right, Daniel?
I guess, but that's kind of way beyond out of our reach.
We're here, aren't we, Akushi? We're early.
The final stages of 37, which is kind of oriented towards the family unit and that whole paradigm that we've been in, into the 55, which you can see what's going on the planet. You can see it starting where people are really getting into this victim consciousness of what's going on with this COVID. It's out to get us, and all this fear of terrorists. And now it's Now it's invisible microbes or viruses that are going to come and get us and kill us. It's all this fear around being a victim of, someone's going to harm us. And in order for that to shift into its gift level, its higher expression of freedom, we got to really bring, and what's happening is it's bringing that stuff right up into our faces big time for everyone. So we can all see it in ourselves and in everyone else in the collective. And that's part of what's going on. Now, Richard has an even better clarity and articulation on what's going on in that regard with regards to what's going on with the timing of things that we're going through as a species, as humanity right now. And he's done some little interviews and stuff where he talks about that. It's worthwhile to tune into.
He did some good stuff with Kim Gould, didn't he? They really got into some good stuff about
the Unity group, Unifier, Unity.
So Kim Gould, who love your design, and she's an asteroid human design aficionado, and it almost comes across as one of Richard Rudd's mentors. He really looks up to her.
He touches in with there, and then also in some other videos that he's done. Yeah, really good. I wish I had could articulate better that some of the things that he says, but yeah, we're in a very exciting and not easy time. Period.
I think it's interesting what you brought up, because people are looking to navigate their way through to know what the shards of truth are. And so, for example, I can give you my experience having an 84-year-old mummy with pulmonary disease here, that I just kind of, if there was no data sets coming in, I just kind of went inwards and I just did the work and looked after my mum as a shielder. And then it was only in the ring of illusion where I kind of took my mask off, and I've just ordered her the hydroxychloroquine for if she gets any signs, and then that will kick it out because that's an antiviral. But this isn't common knowledge. So the application of our freedom in a practical sense is only coming if we're able to discern and invite that information in. So I was asking the universe to deliver. And the reason why was because there were two girls coming to visit me from London, and they'd been protesting and anti-mask wearers. And I went to see them one night, and I went away confused because they were kind of giving me something which I hadn't aligned with. So I went home. They went out walking the next day. I live in Derbyshire in the Peak District, just on the gateway of that. And Akushi does too, actually. And the next day they went out walking. The next morning I was with George Freeman, and we do a morning sadhana together every day. And I'd asked the universe to deliver me some information, and he just gave it me. And the World Doctors Alliance had come out, and they all stood up and said who they were. And they're all putting their neck on the line, and they're all suggesting that, the COVID was causing more harm than good. And this is what you do: vitamin D, zinc, and you need hydroxychloroquine. So it was, that was in the ring of illusions. And I was like, oh my goodness me, the tears came down my face, and I was just thinking about the freedom, of course, was just, it was such a big moment. And then I was able to, big time.
You know who's really good on this thing of the clarification around the COVID thing is Dr. Zach Bush. Are you familiar with Zach Bush? And he has a great video called the Virome, I think it's called. It's a YouTube video. It's real clear on how, and I had this sense as well, but I didn't have the clarity around it. I just a kind of a sense that the viruses are not our enemy. There's nothing in creation that's out to get us. That's not part of the design that God or the source of all creation designed for this planet. There's not things that are out there to get us. They have a function and a role, and it's only because of our that role is to go. They're not even alive. They're like a program that goes in and makes adjustments to the DNA. And it's going to where things are out of balance, and it helps to bring them into balance. So there's actually it's like the immune system of the collective of the species of the planet. They go where there's toxic environments and they clean it up, and that's their role. And here we are trying to kill it and trying to defend ourselves against it, rather than getting ourselves clean up our act. In other words, cleanse our bodies, get our diets right, clean up our external environment, the toxicity in the air and the water and the food, the soil, everything is so messed up. And he's a masterful scientist at that topic of clarifying what the virus, what viruses' role is, how they work, and how we should be approaching all this thing. Zach Bush.
Zach Bush. I've put that in the messages. Just want to jump in there quickly and just say that we've had quite a few listeners here, and some wonderful messages. Oh, Lisa Lowry says, "Oh, please tell Daniel how much I love his artwork and his Gene Key calendar. Has he got one for 2021?"
I'm working on it. I'm almost done, actually. I just got to do the grunt work. I got to refine a couple of images, but I got some new images, and I have to do all that, getting from the ephemeris, all the gene keys for the sun and moon and all the other astrological stuff, get all that technical stuff all together and put it all in there. And it's a lot of grunt work to do. And then I'm going to get it ready. Probably it won't be ready till right around Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving. And when's that? Thanksgiving's around about a week before, 2 weeks before Christmas, is it here? We don't do Thanksgiving.
I'm sorry, that's an American holiday. No,
Yeah,
that's the
but
fourth Thursday or the third Thursday or something in November. So it's late November, latest November.
okay. So we get our orders in then.
Yeah, I'll be posting it on the Facebook.
Fabulous. I have been to a Thanksgiving in California about 10 years ago.
It's kind of
Absolutely.
fun.
Yeah,
I'm
interesting.
on a pretty pure diet now in my elder age. I have to be. And just recently I got kind of into vegan and getting really clean and stuff. But a Thanksgiving with family is this tradition that's so kind of fun and happy and fond memories and stuff. I think I'll break my diet and just enjoy myself that day.
Do you? Oh wow, that's good. Never say never.
Yeah.
Yeah, I too, I'm pretty pure now in my diet. I am pure now in my diet. Coffee was the one last thing. You know what? If I go out once in a blue moon and there's a really nice full-bodied red wine, I'm gonna have that. After all, I'm a 30, you know?
Yeah.
Um, so what else are we looking at here? So Robin Cabral has been listening. Integration to knowing is a process, yes. To feminine as divine love, serving the feminine with the masculine. Roxanne Smith and Gaia Man are watching you. Some lovely messages. Oh, Robin says beyond words. You said earlier you were articulating and answering a brilliant question. Phoebe's so good at asking juicy questions. And at the end of it, you said you wish you could have answered it. And I was sat here listening to you, and I thought, wow, how well you do answer these questions, because you answer it from your own experience and from the heart, and in a way that takes you along the journey of the question, but also in a way that I can understand it, in layman's terms, which for me is, it speaks to many rather than a few. And so I think you enunciated and articulated beautifully. And here
Thank you.
it was amazing from Tamara. So my sacral chakra wanted to cry. That's from Louis Gomez. I don't know if you know him, but he also, I think Candice Coe is watching you. Linda Heineman. Daniel, she has a question actually. She says, Daniel, do you feel that the majority of people fit in the conditioning factor, or more in the free flow and visionary? Well,
I'm not sure I understand that question. What's she asking? Say
she's
again.
asking if you think that the majority of people fit into conditioning rather than free flow and visionary.
Well, I'm sure there's a whole spectrum. There's some people out there that are not into human design or gene keys at all, that are very much living their design and very much into that flow of expressing their gifts and so forth. But most people by far, like a vast majority, are living their conditioned selves, and they're putting on fronts and their facades, and they're trying to impress people, and they're acting how they were think they're supposed to be, and it's kind of over time, as they get older, it gets more crystallized and encrusted than ever, and they lose track of even who they are. It's but something I've noticed, that no matter how much conditioned a person is, this is what seems to me to be who they really are, is always trying to get through the cracks and get out there, even if it's a little bit gets distorted by their conditioning, but it's always seeking expression. And so it's a matter of us getting clear, all of us getting clear on really our true nature, our our design that's is encoded in our DNA, and then living that, and then that readjustment takes some time. Like Richard says, it does take a few years. Well, depending on how old a person is and depending on who they are too, but it takes some time.
Mm. Mm. Beautiful. Um, so we there's quite a few comments. It'd be beautiful if you could nip into the cafe when I will send you the link and messenger, and maybe just respond to some of the messages.
Okay.
We've got about 10 minutes left. Phoebe, do you have any more questions? I think I'm questioned out.
Well, any on a kind of personal basis, that's I'd like to relate it into where I'm at the moment, because you talking about roles quite a lot, which is kind of Gene Key 7 stuff. Would you agree? I'm following the wheel of the 7-year alchemical stages, which you may be familiar with through human design, and Richard Rudd wrote about it. And so I've just the Gene Key 33, which for 40 days, and then you go into 7 for 40 days, and they're kind of merging, Michael. So they've been like kind of, as I've started from 3, and going around the year of disintegration, and then making a relationship with all of the things which I require to move forward. And now I've started a year of alignment, and that started in Gene Key 33, and now I've just gone into Gene Key 7. Which talks about roles and defining my roles for me to ultimately commit to. And so I'm kind of finding that I'm been leaking a lot of energy, around things which I've been saying yes to, because I'm a 29, and I'm quite alive with a lot of stuff in my aura. So I'm like kind of shedding stuff which I don't need. And maybe that is going to kind of help me to define my roles. And you seem to say it over and over again, I might be just answering my own question, that the way that we're doing that is by getting really, really clear. So for example, there's this great masterclass that was on, that Bella Crystal put together, and it's about conscious connection. And there was this fabulous woman that was doing the masterclass, and it's recorded and you can still purchase, I'm sure. But it was talking about getting really, really clear about who you want to connect with, because maybe that is one of the things which I'm needing, is a significant other, because I've got an IQ line 2 and I've got a core wound line 2, and then over here it's 3-3. But I reckon to get into my wound, maybe I need a significant other. So what's your opinion on what I've just said there? Do you think I'm on the right track? And how do I take the guidance? Is it just going to kind of tenderly come through me in that yin way?
Well, I mean, the ultimate answer to that really is the Venus sequence. Have you done that?
Yeah, so I'm in that at the moment actually. So because we Akushi and I started
Is
with
that what you said,
Bella.
mentioned when you were saying you go to 33 to 7? Is that what you're talking about on your Venus sequence?
So on my Venus sequence, I've got an IQ with a line 2, and I've got a core wound with a line 2. And the way that Ashley and Bella have been putting it together, right, because they're kind of bridging the gap between human design and gene keys, and it's brilliant for me because I've got the 17 and the 18 really rocking, and I kind of need to rewire the left brain, and so I've got these two line 2s, and they're suggesting that the IQ, the development stage between 14 and 21, supports the core wound, and they both happen to be line 2s. So I'm kind of taking a cue that I'm starting to date. I'm going conscious dating. So like, yeah. So like, I thought maybe that would be a good idea. There's this great website I found, and they're doing video calls. And I thought, well, okay, so if I put in my profile that I'm looking for people that are in their gifts, doing the work, and are going to hold the space with non-judgment, and kind of into the sacred space and stuff, then that might be a really good way of me getting into my 2 and unraveling the core wound, which happens to be 53, by the way. But yeah,
Uh,
interesting.
well, that's my programming partner to my 54. That's my radiance is 53. But for a manifesting generator, that might be a very workable, particularly if you're following your own inner authority, if you're following your own inner guidance, that could be very well. For me, that wouldn't work. I can't go after. I can't. It just does not work to go after a relationship. I have to just. Um, I'm not so sure exactly how to describe it, but I have to let it come to me, and then I uh, act on my own inner guidance, which is a splenic authority, which is that instant knowing. And I would say, oh, and I totally recognize it when I am around a woman that is there's a chemistry. There's no doubt. And sometimes there's women who are maybe express a little interest in me, but I don't feel the chemistry. So it's just okay. I just know that it's to be a friend or a business partner or an acquaintance and I can't make it happen. I don't know. I just have to attract it. That's just the way it works for me. That's what it seems like anyway. So, but for you, that might be a little different. So maybe that if you're following your guidance, maybe that's perfect for you.
Thank you. Thanks for the clarity. I came to the right person.
Okay, so I just want to say thank you so much, Daniel Holman, for being here, Jinkies ambassador, visionary extraordinaire, beautiful man, tender, and it's been a joy listening to you, and the feedback so far is really positive and lovely, and I think we're going to share this here, there, and everywhere. Phoebe, thank you for being the co-host and asking wonderful questions and being yourself here as and I like your little what do you call them? Yeah, it's beautiful.
The bindies.
Your bindies,
I
yeah.
got crystals on for Daniel because I
Yeah.
thought, well, I'm going to be the visual piece of art today.
Sweet. It's kind of a Hindu thing, isn't it? Something like
Yeah,
that. Sweet.
yeah. I used to go out wearing these when I was hair braiding, and I do the kids' hair with the thread, and then
Oh,
they choose all their own colors and get really into it, and then I'd ask them if they wanted some of these on. It was just magical, 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 magical summer. I've only done it one summer, and it was the last time I went out hair braiding last summer. So yeah, they're a
that's
great
fun.
feature now.
Yeah. Well,
So
yeah, it's been nice. Thank you for having me here. You guys are great. And I want to also express special thanks to those that tuned in, Lisa Laurie and the rest of the ones that you mentioned. Uh, Thank you and hello. Um, and I think I should also mention my website if people want to come visit my website there. and it's awakenvisions.com. So it's awaken, A-W-A-K-E-N, visions. It's kind of like a double entendre. So it's almost sounds like we're awake in our visions, and also to awaken as a verb, to awaken our vision of life, which is our possibility, our potential, our design, really, in life. And so it's awakenvisions.com, and I'd love to have you come visit. And thank you for doing what you're doing, both of you. I think that's what's important, is for us to be doing what we're meant to be doing, playing our part.
Playing our part, showing up in whatever way that is. What I will do is I will post awakenvision.com on the details, in the replay, and I'll send you a copy of that, and we'll post it onto YouTube eventually as well. Phoebe, is there anything you'd like to say quickly before we go?
Just that I've had an absolute gas, you know, like this is a real new thing for me. And, you know, there is an unfolding going on for all of us, but for me particularly, as I'm getting used to, you know, navigating and hopefully asking the right questions and maybe pushing a few edges. Because last week I really kind of felt all over the place, and so you've really put me at ease, and I feel like we've had a wonderful chat, and I feel so yin. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you. That's great to hear. Thank you.
So if
Thank
we
you.
just leave with a blessing, just say thank you to all the guests that have been listening in today, and wish you harmony going forward. And we'll see you next week in the cafe. And thank you so much, Daniel.
Thank you.